right. Sounds good.
Okay, so a little bit about me for the fresh faces. I'm Emmeline, people and culture consultant and certified coach with Intuitive Performance. So I help develop those human skills of organizations through workplace training, the facilitation and coaching. And I appreciate you spending your time with me today. To get to know everybody and let us all get acquainted, I'd love to have everyone put in the chat your name, where you are calling in from, and where you're at when it comes to succession planning. And you can do your organization, city, whatever you want. I'll go through intentions while we're getting those in there. So today we're going to be looking at moving beyond job descriptions and understanding the full scope of each employee's potential, creating a clear and actionable roadmap to ensure employees are adequately prepared and trained for promotions or transitions into new roles, identifying critical but often overlooked training and development areas essential for effective succession planning, and exploring those significant soft skills, so emotional intelligence and adaptability in shaping future leaders. Learning how to cultivate a culture that values continuous learning and self-improvement with strategies to integrate ongoing training and development into your organization's DNA. So I have a quick poll to also help us get an idea of who's in the room here. If you can tell us which role describes you best. So are you an executive leader, a team manager, team lead, people and culture leader, or a people and culture contributor, individual contributor? Okay, we got some intros coming in. Robert from Boston, you're here to upskill and expand your general knowledge. Amazing. Elena from Wixom. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Perfect. AV people. Okay, awesome. And you are, okay, us, HR, and supporting about 50 employees. Your side, you don't have a formal succession plan. Okay, great. Well, that's perfect that you're here. Okay, so I'm seeing in a poll, we've got quite a mix: people and culture leaders, team manager, team lead, and people and culture contributors. Amazing. Another quick poll we'll do in the chat about leader and organization mentality. So do your leaders approach development of their team with the attitude of replaceable or irreplaceable? And what I mean by that is, do you or your organization's leaders work towards your next move up by developing the team to be ready to jump in when you go there? Or do they work with the ego of irreplaceability? So keeping things close jacket and people basically holding people back so that they can keep their current position. A little bit of both. Okay, so there's kind of a mix of leaders. Some are looking to move up and some are trying to stay put. Irreplaceable. Interesting, Robert. Okay, interesting. Jana as well, irreplaceable. Okay, both. And so follow up to that, does your organization feed into either one, either with policy or culture? So do you have programs in place that really encourage development and growth, or is your culture to kind of support that irreplaceable mentality? Programs in place for growth and development. Great. Victoria, you believe your culture feeds. Okay, and you're looking to change it. Amazing. Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, so a quick look at then versus now. Succession planning historically has focused on executive roles, and I use the quotes there on thorough because although at the time it may have seemed robust, it was to today's needs not. Focused on hard skills and capabilities and input from leaders and other contacts. Sometimes relied on special projects that essentially pitted two colleagues against each other for a role, or there was a selected individual that was groomed by their predecessor to take over, or there was no plan at all. So if you've been in my webinars before, you know I like to collaborate. So we're going to use our annotation feature and discuss the impact here of the traditional approach. So if you haven't used annotation before, there on your toolbar there's a pencil. It says annotate. And if you click that, it brings up another little menu and you can click on the text option and click anywhere on the slide to put in your thoughts. And it doesn't need to be pretty. I just like the visual of the contributions.
And if anyone wants to just type it in the chat, or if they're having issues with the annotation, feel free to type it in the chat. I'll copy paste it here onto our slide deck.
Thanks, Scott. Lack of trust, absolutely. Loss of talent, yeah. Turnover for sure. Has anyone been in a scenario of traditional succession planning? Not inclusive, agreed. Yeah, and favoritism. Favoritism is one that shows up that that ends up resulting in all the lost talent, lack of trust. It's not efficient. Yes, Andrea, agreed. Lack of psychological safety. The list goes on, right? Awesome. Does anyone have any other thoughts they want to put on the slide? I'm going to take a picture of it because, again, I love the visual contributions so that you can see the degree of the impact. And I do have to clear it before we move on. So if you have any other thoughts, get them in there. Why saving? We know that that traditional succession planning approach was successful at times. However, I'm sure some or all of you may be familiar with this example of when it fails. So Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, handpicked and apparently prepared his successor, Bob Chapek, and left the organization. Chapek then also left Disney after a short term of disappointing actions and results. Iger then returned to Disney and has remained ever since. I think he's on his third contract extension since coming back. Now, Bob here, he's getting paid well. He's doing what he's excellent at, but how scary is it that the complete fall of the Disney empire potentially almost certainly rests on one man's shoulders, with which what appears to be no plan or solution to hold it up should those shoulders give out. And we saw a glimpse of that risk to even Florida's economy with Chapek's layoff plan that was halted, but it could have been catastrophic for the state. So succession planning is essential now more than ever, as we're seeing employees jump ship earlier and earlier on. We're seeing the effects of industry sensitivity on the economy. And the other thing we're starting to see, but is so essential, is thinking about your succession program on a broader cascading scale than just filling your C-suite roles. So what I mean by that is, are you utilizing company culture to fuel succession and vice versa? Are you considering your engagement strategies in conjunction with succession? So investing in your employees to develop them to move up at all levels sets the organization up for full level succession while boosting the engagement, productivity, and retention, and essentially your employer brand. So who here is uncomfortable with the thought of developing someone out of the organization? Let's see in the chat, or if you want to come on your mic, you can put C in the chat for comfortable, UC for uncomfortable, if that's easier. It may feel counterintuitive to think about investing in someone leaving, and there's a chance that people will stay loyal to the investment and stick around, but there may be roles where there isn't a lot of capacity for moving up. There may be people who develop, they get a better offer from someone else and they go, but they still take that investment, that positive input into their future, and they talk about it. Comfortable? Oh, I thought I would see a lot of uncomfortables, honestly. So that's great. That's interesting.
Just jumping in here, I'd be curious if anybody might be willing to share a little bit from their own experience of setting somebody up in that manner, and what made it comfortable. What was their kind of successes?
Just so I understand the what we're saying here. So we're saying like developing employees with the potential of them leaving and like taking those skills with them somewhere else, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So my opinion of this is, especially like in today's day and age with our 5 generations in the workforce, Gen Z entering the workforce, their expectations are that they need to be developed, or it like directly leads to disengagement and then they leave anyway. So with the expectation that, you know, we're probably going to have somebody for like 2.5 years on average anyway, like why not develop them with the potential that maybe they feel loyal because of that and stick around, when not developing them will like ensure that they leave within the 2 years. So that's how I see it. Well,
and especially with companies, I'm not sure about yours, but many are downsizing and restructuring right now. And when you have that type of a scenario happening, but then you're still investing in the people that are there, that can make huge strides in your retention. Even if it is for that 2.5 years, at least they're not getting insecure and scared and leaving tomorrow, right? So that's great. Thank you for sharing. It's great to hear that approach. Okay, so how can we embrace a fuller scope of that cascading scale I mentioned? So thinking about a holistic approach to roles, how do we move beyond the job descriptions and understand the full scope of each employee's potential? If anyone, again, wants to come on your mic, I would love that. Otherwise, pop in the chat how you would approach that.
Yeah, so we got Glenn here says, meeting with high positions, or high potentials maybe, and create IDPSs. Elena here saying be consistent one-on-ones between employees and managers. So having those quarterly reviews. Notice you're mentioning quarterly here, not annually, and discussing career development. We have Yana here saying performance reviews or midterm or interim checks with employees, as well as Andrea here, again, this was mentioned, I think by Glenn, individual development plans as a way of supporting people from that way.
Perfect. Yeah, and thinking beyond just the development plans that come with your annual appraisal for your current role. What are the development plans to move up? Yeah, exactly.
Terry has one more thing to add. So this is something I'm trying to get managers to realize: continual one-on-one meetings to cover things outside of just workload. So SMART goals and know where they wish to be in the company.
Yes. Yes. And often even the SMART goals is a great step, but they tend to focus on the current role they're in and producing in that position versus leveling up. So that's great, Victoria. Okay, again, feel free to keep going in the chat as I talk. Don't feel like you have to stop. I like to see the conversation keep going, but just to keep us on track, I'm going to reveal. So moving beyond the job descriptions, as I'm going through these points, I'd love to see who has implemented these, or if there's something else not on the list. Like I said, do share. You can talk about what works, what doesn't. If you want to come on the mic with your experience of any of these, please do. So the first one is encouraging a culture that values continuous learning and growth and rewards potential. So emphasize that employees have the potential to develop and take on new challenges beyond their current roles. Acknowledge and reward those who demonstrate a willingness to do so. So this reinforces that organization's support for growth and potential, and also assigning challenging tasks or projects that push the employee beyond their comfort zone. This allows them to discover and develop untapped potential. Scheduling those regular one-on-one meetings with employees to discuss their aspirations or interests in areas of expertise. So ensure you're asking open-ended questions to understand their career goals and how they envision contributing to the organization in the future. Also, regularly seeking feedback from employees as a collective about their experience and career goals within the organization. So that feedback can inform leadership decisions and create a more inclusive culture. Look beyond specific job titles and descriptions to identify transferable skills. So recognizing skills and experience employees have gained outside of their primary role. We do this when we're hiring initially, but how can newly gained skills you might not even know about be understood and considered? Provide skill assessments and training opportunities to identify employees' strengths and areas of development. So offer training programs that align with their interest and potential career path. Checking in for a moment here. Is anyone in the process of planning your training and development for your team? And is it something you're taking on internally, or you're looking for external support? I know we're heading into fourth quarter. Depending on how your cycle works. Is anybody on the training and development train right now?
Well, we wait for people to jump in the chat here. And we had Glenn who offered up mentoring programs for successors too, as another opportunity to help kind of support that employee development.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And so Jody's said that they're in the process of looking for external support from a training and development perspective. Victoria's saying not at this time, but she's interested in developing a plan. It seems like we have people on kind of both sides of the spectrum here.
Facilitate cross-functional collaboration and projects to expose employees to different areas of the organization. This allows them to gain new perspectives and expand their skills. Consider job rotation programs that allow employees to spend time in different departments or roles. And shadowing experienced colleagues also provides some valuable insights in various job functions. Implementing those mentoring and coaching programs to connect employees with experienced professionals can also offer the guidance and support in exploring their potential. And number 6 is encouraging employees to take the initiative in proposing and leading new projects that align with their interests and expertise. So can you share in the chat, or again, come on your mic, which ones of these would you like to implement within your organization? Yeah.
And we'll just catch up on the chat here. So Elena was saying we basically have no budget for training and development at this time. So they're leveraging an e-learning platform for now. I mean, I see at the end of the day, you're still looking at, supporting your team members in whatever way you can. And despite not being able to afford it from that perspective, having in the budget this year, e-learning can be helpful there. Glenn sounds like they're on the opposite spectrum. We utilize an internal learning and development department, and they have it with the development of their succession planning.
Perfect.
That seems like a pretty robust plan that Glenn and the team are able to take advantage of. Elena here says they mostly host a monthly departmental lunch and learn, so everyone in the organization can understand the roles and responsibilities of each department and how they work cross-functionally. Deanna talks a little bit about promote employee-led initiatives, so it would be great and a new approach. Victoria's looking at number 5 and number 6. I feel like more employees lead initiatives, they have more buy-in, for sure.
Yep.
Lastly, Andrea here is saying, so we do not have cross-functional projects. We call them stretch projects, but we are working on how to ensure these individuals are prioritized for new opportunities or roles.
And what have you come up with so far?
It's still working on it and figuring it out.
Okay. Awesome. Well, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. I love hearing everybody's what you're doing. It's great. Okay, yeah, and by taking these steps, you can create that environment to foster the employee growth. You're going to encourage exploration of potential and move beyond those rigid job descriptions to harness the full capability of your workforce. So it benefits individual employees and contributes to the organization's overall success and adaptability in a rapidly changing business landscape. So we're going to look at a case study demonstrating holistic succession planning at Global Solutions, Inc. So some company background, they're a multinational manufacturing company with a diverse range of products. They have a large skilled workplace with operations in multiple countries. And as part of their long-term strategy, they recognize the need for comprehensive and holistic succession planning programs to ensure smooth leadership transitions and continuity. So their challenges and objectives were the company had some ad hoc succession planning efforts in place, but there needed to be a cohesive, systematic approach to identifying and developing their future leaders. They operated in various cultural and regulatory environments, making it crucial to consider diversity and adaptability in their process. Key knowledge and expertise were concentrated among senior leaders, creating a potential knowledge gap if it wasn't effectively transferred to successors. The company wanted to retain and develop high potential employees, providing them with growth opportunities to fill critical leadership positions as well. Does your organization face any of these challenges right now? If you want, you can type in the chat which number or numbers resonate. So if you have a lack of planning, type number 1, knowledge transfer issues, 3, you get the idea. Oh,
hi, Emmeline. Hi, everybody. This is Glenn.
Hi.
So I do want to, we pretty much do all of this, but I would say there's like a 5th bullet here, and that would be program continuation. So our challenge right now is readdressing our current succession plan. Once we roll it out and you have your successors defined and you're doing the mentorship and all that, the challenge is circling back to see where we're at on the continued training and mentoring. And we're new into this, so we've only had it for maybe going on 11 months. So we do have it in our timeline to have a yearly check-in because we want to reevaluate yearly to ensure that we have the right successors and if there's any attrition. But I would say that's, currently our challenge right now
Is checking in?
is the checking in, right?
Okay, interesting. Have you done anything so far to try and address it? Or are you still exploring?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. We have monthly manager leadership meetings, so we're trying to address it there. But we're also meeting with the leaders individually too.
Okay.
But I think the only reason I'm bringing this up is I think that can be a miss when you're creating your succession plan is
Mhm.
you develop it and you roll it out and then it's forgotten about and there's no follow through and follow up.
Collects dust somewhere. Yeah. Well, I guess now it's digital. It used to just sit on a shelf and collect dust.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, and no, just based on what Glenn said, I love the addition to number 5 here. As like you think you're one and done. We finally got the succession plan going. Let's roll it out. And it's like, oh, wait a second, we have to find some kind of continuation plan now that builds off this. I'm curious, Glenn, if you guys are using any kind of skill matrices or anything along those lines to track development over time, and if that can help be a guide as well as to future talent development and investing in your leadership team.
We're discussing it. We're just utilizing the IDPs right now and tracking that way, but we do know that we need to have some kind of benchmarking and matrix to utilize for future results.
Okay, yeah, that I think we've seen some success with other organizations leveraging that as a way of kind of pointing in the direction of what does continued learning development kind of look like for each team member.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get into what the strategy was and how it came out. So they conducted a thorough talent assessment at all levels of the organization, identifying potential successors for key positions. Those assessments included evaluating performance, potential, leadership skills, and competencies. They designed a range of development programs, including training, coaching, mentoring, tailored to high potential employees. They, to broaden employees' skill sets and exposure, introduced job rotation programs and cross-functional projects. Employees were given opportunities to work in different departments and functions. They established succession planning committees comprised of senior executives from various regions and divisions, and those committees regularly reviewed succession plans, discussed potentials, and adjusted based on the changing business needs. So that could also be something, Glenn, that might help keep that going as well. They also initiated knowledge transfer programs to ensure the smooth transfer of critical information from retiring leaders to successors. So they were encouraged to document best practices, share experience, and mentor. And then lastly, they emphasized diversity and inclusion in the succession planning efforts. So recognizing the importance of that, efforts were made to identify and develop diverse talent. Based on these 6 strategies, which would impact your team the most? Jump in the chat if you don't have these in place, which one could really help impact your team. I'm going to keep going here just to keep us on track with time. But Scott, interrupt me if there is comments in there. So the results: smooth leadership transitions, their employee engagement and retention, and improved business continuity was there, and they did have enhanced organizational performance because their leaders had the necessary skills and knowledge to drive success. Their holistic succession plan actually became the cornerstone of their long-term growth strategy. Okay, overlooked while looking up. So critical skills that shape successful leaders aren't just technical ability. In fact, a study conducted showed that 85% of job success actually comes from having well-developed soft skills. And often a technical expert moves up the ladder, and the only place to go is to manage people. And as you may know, that's an entirely different skill set, including competencies required even just to transition from peer or technical expert to a leader. So key skills to focus on when looking at succeeding potential leaders are adaptability, communication, conflict resolution, decision-making, leadership style, and emotional intelligence. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list, but to give an idea of what's overlooked in training and development plans. Also, when we're talking about developing people out of an organization, a strategy to mitigate that is the benefit of developing soft skills because they are so transferable. When there isn't a lot of capacity for promotions or leveling up in a particular technical stream, cross-departmental transfers will be more successful by just providing that additional specialized training when needed. What other skills are you finding lacking in soft skills in your leaders and organizations? Are they kind of in line with this, or are there any other ones that you're seeing pop up as gaps? Thanks, Elena. Yep. Coaching is a big one right now. It's very effective and highly recommended.
Glenn mentioned interpersonal skills.
Awesome. Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Glenn.
Victoria jumping in saying communication, always too busy for HR initiative. Anybody else resonate with Victoria's comment? Always too busy for HR initiative?
A study Forbes published by TalentSmart found that your emotional intelligence is the foundation for a host of critical skills, impacting almost everything you say and do each day, and is the single biggest predictor of performance in the workplace and the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. Of all the people they studied, they found that 90% of top performers are also high in emotional intelligence. And on the flip side of that, just 20% of the bottom performers were high in emotional intelligence. So a quick revisit to Bob Chapek. There have been many articles or write-ups that have come out to capture perspectives on his downfall, and they tend to land on lack of trust. So the multiple reorgs when changing the business to two streams caused a lot of insecurity and mistrust. There was a lack of empathy and humility when COVID hit and he attempted to lay everyone off before Congress implemented financial support. Lack of self-control with the online flogging of Scarlett Johansson when the whole, I think it was Black Widow thing came up. And then a lack of understanding of and empowerment. He tried to fake it till you make it in negotiating the deal with her instead of empowering his people to handle their areas of expertise, and it failed. There are other reasons for his demise, both publicly known and not, but you can see here the impact of having those soft skills in the red in leadership. Okay, road mapping success. So when we're looking at nurturing growth paths, I'd like to hear from you within your teams. What should a clear and actionable roadmap include? If you already have them, Glenn, I'm not sure if you have roadmaps already with your program. It sounds quite developed. Do you have any specifics that you have ensured to include in there?
Sorry, yeah, I'm here. Somebody just popped in my office.
Oh, good. I was trying to find you and I was like, where did he go? Yeah, if there's anything that you've found on growth paths that you find crucial to include, I would love to hear it. And then I will do the drum roll and reveal my list.
Growth, are you talking about growth paths when you after you've determined
when you're sorry?
Is that after you determine who the successor is, or what?
Yeah, so when you have your roadmap or your action plan for that successor to make sure that they are adequately prepared, what do you include in there?
Well, we use the 9-box methodology when we help kind of determine where they would fall in that 9-box, and then we go from there.
Okay.
And it starts with, obviously the IDP plan that we develop when we meet with the employee and we talk with them on where they're at in the 9-box and what they need to get in the top right corner versus where they're currently at.
So creating a clear an actionable roadmap so that people are prepared and trained for promotions and transition should include evaluating the employee's current performance and potential for growth using their reviews, their feedback, self-assessments, identifying specific areas where they excel, areas they need to improve to meet the requirements of that desired promotion. Defining the criteria and competencies very clearly and communicating expectations required for the target role. Collaborating to create that personal individual development plan tailored to the promotion goals and criteria and include specific training programs, workshops, certifications, and experience that align with the competencies needed. Also establishing milestones and timelines to track progress and ensure accountability. Offering training programs to address the identified skill gaps and align with the competencies required for the role. This could include leadership development, technical skills training, project management courses, or other relevant training. So, and also pairing the employee with that mentor or coach that can offer guidance or support. Regularly reviewing and updating the action plan is crucial based on their progress, but also changing business needs and being flexible in adjusting the plan as necessary so it remains relevant and achievable. Regularly reviewing their progress toward their development goals, providing constructive feedback, and also recognizing achievements. So this will help with not only their professional growth, but their readiness for those higher level roles and their engagement and commitment to the organization and its success. So when we're talking about continuous learning culture, I would love to hear what you are taking away from today to ignite, if you don't already have it, or fuel your existing organization's continuous learning culture. How you can influence your leaders to be forward thinking when developing their teams, and what challenges you face around succession planning and how you will overcome them based on the information today. One of my favorite questions is what you're taking away from today for various reasons. So I would really appreciate if you would do me a solid and tell me what your gold nuggets are from the session.
I'll go. This is Andrea. I did speak about this a little bit in the chat earlier, but our firm, we do have IDPs and we do take them seriously. But to your last point, we don't have timelines for employees to be able to match. So I think just moving forward, being able to prioritize that and really make sure managers are taking it seriously as well.
Great. Yeah, that's great. And that can be something that's sort of an unknown because you're being proactive and there is regular attrition or there's retirements that you'll kind of have an idea of and that kind of thing. But sometimes you are just developing somebody without a finite date of promotion. So it can be kind of a balancing act there.
We have Yan in the chat saying the biggest challenge is how to keep leadership accountable. I can imagine from the HR seat. I'm sure if we asked people to put up their hands if they feel the same way as Yana, we'd have a lot of hands coming up here.
Yeah, that's a great question. How do you keep leadership accountable? Does anyone want to chime in there?
Elaine is saying, I'll be focusing on encouraging skills growth since we're a small group.
It's something I've been trying to work on. We're pretty small and we've had some downsizing. We're in this process of, building products and services, and we've got our funding and everything for that. So, the next step is like rehiring and regrowing. So in that, before we do it, I'm trying to create these sort of plans so we can all move forward in the same way, and created a big manager's manual on how we do promote within and things that we can do to encourage growth and learning and stuff like that. And I feel one of the areas I feel like it's helpful, not necessarily in the job description, but for each job description where there's potential growth to go to the next level, have a few items that we can provide an employee. So when they arrive at that new role, what can they do to start working and learning in that role, but like, how do they get to the next level after that point? Not necessarily putting a timeline on it, but so that they're always learning new skills above and beyond just their current role, that they could figure out how to, and then build their SMART goals, or, you know, their employee initiatives or whatever around searching for those, trying to meet those goals, so they can almost like beat them to the punch, you know, and just show that they're ready way well in advance. I think, you know, I feel like if you give somebody that ahead of time, you're not just saying, here's your role now, and don't give them like, here's what you can do to start preparing yourself to grow into something beyond this. I think giving that even just a little bit helps. I don't know. I thought it would be a great exercise in providing for each position, and having the managers obviously identify the different roles and growth potential within a department, but like just a brief little, here's your role, but you know, if you're encouraged to go keep growing, you can do these things along this period that will help you in the future. I don't know how to explain that really articulately, but that's kind of been my focus right now.
Yeah, that's great. And that's setting up that growth culture right when they walk in the door. And Jana as well, while I'm thinking growth culture, keeping the leaders accountable, is developing a part of their team, part of their performance evaluation.
Glenn
Yeah.
just jumped in here. He was saying that we keep leadership accountable by having this as part of their individual performance goal that ties into our strategic plans. I think that's what you're alluding to, Em, right? So to identify their successor and work with HR to mentor and develop them, so we have business continuity.
Yeah. So a great combination for bringing this all full circle is Victoria, what you're saying about setting people up right out of the gate. They get into their role. This is what you can do to level up. And then you have their leaders being accountable as part of their role and evaluation to support that. That's great. Did you guys know that 89% of organizations don't have sufficient leadership talent that they need to grow their businesses? So whether you're supporting people of culture roles or you're leading a team, here are some other challenges that organizations face when it comes to leadership. So struggling to develop a leadership style that supports an effective team culture, impacting employee morale, lagging in the ability to adapt to their team members' needs, which is resulting in turnover, finding it difficult to strategically develop their team members' skills, leaving the team stagnant, and are in the red when it comes to developing those crucial soft skills for their leadership. Pop in the chat or come on the mic if you've noticed any of these challenges come up with your leadership or management teams. See if any of these are resonating with you. And if we're missing any challenges as well, please do put those in the chat. So while we're waiting to hear what challenges your leaders are facing, in addition to what we've spoken to today, to solve those, we've created a whole person leadership development program. And it is for those of you who have found today's session helpful. I would like to share a little bit more information about the leadership cohorts. We've developed 3 8-week programs for each level of leadership. So emerging leaders, elevating, and then that leveling up your established emotionally intelligent leaders. So we support people and culture professionals by facilitating these programs for management and leadership teams. We also host individual cohorts to bring together leaders from a variety of organizations, with our next one of Elevating Leaders launching September 20th. So this program's designed to support managers in developing critical leadership skills in effective communication, decision-making, problem-solving, and more. And it's best for managers seeking to build a high-performance team. So in the program, they learn things like how to develop their confidence in people management best practices, understand the value of emotional intelligence and accountability in leadership, use the coach approach to get the most out of their teams, and work through a comprehensive leadership growth plan. The programs include virtual training sessions, real-world examples, and weekly action planning with peer review discussions. The feedback we've gotten from our participants is they're better at practicing their emotional intelligent leadership. They're able to shift their focus from doing the work to now empowering a team to do the work. They're able to see that team's soft spots, support them through it, and adapt their leadership approach based on the individual needs of their team members. Our participants have rated us at a 9 out of 10, which is we're proud of. We really strive to ensure our programming is relevant and supportive to the challenges that leaders are facing. We have an overview of Missy's experience, who's a director of HR. Her expectations going into the cohort were to learn and grow as a leader. And upon graduating, she had a better understanding of the importance of adapting leadership styles to different situations. She also really appreciated that safe space to share and connect with other leaders. And if you give her testimonial a peruse, she highly recommends it for all managers at each stage of their leadership journey. We also have Jeff, the CEO at the Flower Cart. Jeff's team has grown significantly over the past year, so he decided to join the cohort to level up his leadership. And after graduating, he was better able to use that coach approach with his team and develop his emotional intelligence further. He actually thought it was so valuable, he enrolled some of his senior leaders into the program as well. So for those of you who are interested, I think Scott just popped a link in the chat. You can book a 15-minute call to learn if it aligns with your goals for 2023, or if you're strapped for time, just type WPL in the chat. We can reach out to you later, because I know we're getting to the end of our time together. If anybody has any leaders in your organization that are standing out to you as a potential fit, let us know. Or if you're thinking that you might want to get involved, again, it starts on September 20th. And I'll stick around for a few minutes if you want to talk succession planning or whole person leadership development. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully we cross paths again soon.